Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be looking how Germany was so strong after World War One. So the year is 1918, and Germany has accepted the Treaty of Versailles. Empire of Germany has been destroyed, disassembled. Excuse my bad drawing, but they have been blamed for the war, even though it was the Austro-Hungarians who were overreacting of the murder of the monarch or king queen. So just a reminder, this video audio has been remade because I've lost it. So the NSDAP has been taken power, also known as the Nazi Party or the Workers' Party, and they have turned Germany into a superpower. They invade Poland and into Eastern Germany, or Slavic lands. And having a big military costs a lot of money. So the empire has been taken down, and wrong flag. And the Weimar Republic has been made. And that boy has some problems. So the Weimar Republic has problems, and they're in debt because they need to repay France, Britain, and the allied countries war reparations. Bad flag, sorry. For the war. So they're getting repaid, and so let's look at the Weimar Republic. They collapsed, and in favor of the NSDAP, the Nazi Germany was born. They, I believe, lasted from 1936 to 1945, but we're only going to be looking at 1936 to 1939. So let's look at a superpower which is relevant today. So the United States of America has a very big military, navy, and weird flag. So they have planes, they have the Air Force, they have the Navy, and they have Army, normal military standards. So, and that costs a lot of money maintain, and especially during a war, because you lose your weapons and you have to replace them for new weapons, and the cycle goes on. Especially this only happens during a war, when you have a heavy casualties and losses. So let's look at a military like Poland, who have a small military, small power, and northern power actually. They have a lot of money, not that much money to spend on research, but actually in this case Poland is not that powerful. Poland only has some soldier units and horse units. Cavalry. Sorry for the bad drawing. Drawings will get better, I promise. So and yeah, soldier units. And some tanks, but probably donated by the British and French against the German invasion, and the Nazis were creeping up behind, scarily ready to come for Warsaw. So, um, the Weimar Republic had only 100,000 soldiers as per the Treaty of Versailles, which is kind of ironic because the Treaty of Versailles actually helped Germany because of the thing. So they had a lot of money. They only spent like some currency, like maintaining the military, so they could use it for research to build let's say the Panzer tanks and the other weapons like the flaming warfare and the V2 rockets. So I don't know what I drew there. Sorry, I couldn't explain what I drew. What? So let's have a look. What we're looking at now. Oh, okay. So the Germans could not keep up. The problem was that they couldn't keep up, and the Soviet Operation Bagration destroyed Germany and threatened Berlin as they crossed the Oder River. They liberated Belarus and the Baltic, and they came threatening Warsaw and Berlin. They threatened to cross the Oder River and destroy the Nazi regime, which they did. So the Germans could not keep up. This was a flaw in their plan. So their own start was their own end. That was to be explained. When the Germans threatened the Soviets and crossed the border in Operation Barbarossa in 1941, they went far, but they couldn't keep up. Tanks, they were fine, but the Soviets were ready to push them back, and they still had problems with hiring generals and their fallback. So the Soviets could, through the Lend-Lease program, have enough tanks and weapons and planes to gain air superiority and destroy the Nazi regime. So the system went on and it actually failed them. So at one point they couldn't, day by day they lost Panzer tanks and they couldn't afford to reproduce the weapons, tanks, and the faltering Nazi war machine fell. So that's how it went. Now, I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, let's have a look at Japan. This is the same reason why Japan lost to the Americans. Yes, also the nuclear bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but there's also another main reason. The Japanese didn't care that much about the bombs, so They lost a lot of ships during the Pacific battles, like Midway and other battles up to the surrounding of Japan. Yeah, they basically lost most of the tanks troops in the invasion of China, as they were helped by America in the Lend-Lease program. So they built the SS Yamato, one of the biggest ships in the world, and very good ones actually. They were very strong, very usable, but not that easy to make or very fast. The Americans had one thing that the Japanese did not, and that was the ability to create more and more things as they lost them. So, if say they had Japanese won a major battle and destroyed a lot of ships, the Americans would rebuild immediately. That's what the Japanese could not do, and that's why they ultimately lost the war. This is so the same reason between two countries which killed and saved a lot of people. Japan and Germany are still blamed for the racial problems, and that's why you should always have a democratic system. Let's have a look at countries like India, who still have very big militaries, strong militaries, but they have it in a way that they can manage the system. Such as making them strong. Yes, you will spend a lot of money making them, but if you just make them cheap, they will be weak. So it's okay if you spend a lot of money making good weapons, but in the long term they will help you save more money, and they will help. It's what the Nazi Germans did. They built weak weapons which did not work, and then they had to build more, which ultimately led to the dismemberment of their own nation. So let's say I built this new weapon, and then if I built it very well, spend a lot of money, then it will stay the same for a long time. That's such like the Hercules and F-18 aircraft are still usable and capable of the intended usage. Yeah. So let's have a look at a country like China. So their system is very different. So back when Chairman Mao was still the leader of the Communist Party and ultimately leader of China, he didn't let China open up its economy, and that's only when that happened. He passed and his politicians opened up but he made it so that this system worked as a way, his military. Let's say he was Korean War and Vietnam War, he was able to stop it by stop Americans very easily because he had soldiers. Which, let's say they lost this part of the soldiers, they would go past. Okay, so let's say they lost this amount of soldiers, but then because they have a lot of soldiers, they can come back and expand the border this far. They've gone on and defeat the Americans. But now the Chinese military is very advanced, so it's not that very diversified. You have only a little amount of soldiers, and then you mainly have tanks and weapons launchers, and then you have the rocket force, navy, and air force. And the air force and the tanks play a big role in the defense and offense of China's invasions, but the navals and the rocket force does play a little role, which is very dramatic. Germany lost war is because of the same reason. And we could see this happening with other countries, but luckily countries of the 21st century have learnt from this mistake.